Okay, so I've tried to make this video several times, and I've kind of realized that my thoughts on this season are kind of like the season itself, and well, it's a mess. I mean, like, you can argue that it was a little easier to understand than season 4, and that there's more likable people than season 4, but it's just as possible to argue that there aren't, and then the same thing with the widow in my mind. Now, I think Maggie as a strategy person did better than June did, but it's not really that much better. Out of all the winners, I'd honestly place Maggie as fifth, tell you the truth. June's the only one worse than her. It's tricky. So I'm gonna do my best to describe a good amount of my thoughts this season, but expect it to just be a lot of details because it's just hard to really summarize it. So, at the beginning of the season, I thought that the amount of people was crazy, and I thought that the twists that they had, the gold room, and then the pairs and all that, those were good ideas, but there was kind of too many twists this season. Pardon me. Early dynamics of the house, kind of interesting, because, like, I was a little bit shocked that Eric and Queso were able to cause so much to happen and all that, because I wasn't expected to really like them, but as I saw what they were doing, I'm like, whoa, that's pretty impressive, especially Queso, but Queso basically pulls a Jace, gathers enough people to basically have a majority, or exactly half of the house, and then says, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We've got the numbers. Now we're just going to get rid of everyone else that isn't in this group, and then we start playing again. Dude, this isn't Survivor. Merely having a majority does not guarantee you the ability to wipe out all but one of the minority, like in Survivor, okay? You have to win HOH every single week. What the deal? Huh? I just do not get it. The two alliances, I honestly like the Sovereign 6 better in my mind because, this is going to be hard to explain. These were a bunch of people who decided that we're going to work together, but they all had different relationships with each other, and then they were playing, I think, for kind of just different reasons, because Queso and Janelle, the great strategists and good at competition stuff, and they both lost their partner. Howie and Rachel, just, friends, having fun, nice bond between them and everyone else. And then Sarah and James, they've got a much more personal level, and well, James's story speaks for itself, I think. So I thought there was more to that group rather than just the friendship. And the friendship, even though there were several different people with very different personalities, I just thought of them as a group. Honestly, it was just hard because all they did for the majority of the season, was oppose the Sovereign Six as a group. It just so happened that they lost enough people on their alliance and all that for there to be two people at the end, and then it came to be which one of them just did a little bit better. Because there really wasn't that much difference between them, given that it was 4-3, right? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, as I said, I was for the Sovereign 6 and all of that. Although I kind of got the feeling that they were going to crumble, especially after Howie put up James and Sarah. Just like, that was a total bad move, Howie. You just screwed yourself up because you should have been able to realize that that group had a much tighter bond and all that. Just, what's your problem, man? Although I have to admit, this taking control, the switch of control did make the season more interesting because had it just been one group keeping control and all of that, it would have been even more boring than it was because I honestly had a tough time getting hooked to this season. I never really called myself completely hooked to it because I always found it slightly hard to keep on going. The only reason I was able to get through it easily, in my opinion, was just because I'm not watching anything else. Where are we at now? So I have to admit, everyone that left, they had a good story going and all that. James especially, but what else can I say? Let's move on to the final four. You remember how I said in my Big Brother 4 review that I'm not a big fan of Final Four vetoes? Well, they keep on doing it. I'm just not a fan now. Okay, if they keep on doing this for the rest of the shows, please don't tell me, okay? Because I'm pretty sure they do. But I was proven correct in that if somebody on the block wins the power veto at the Final Four, they save themselves and vote for the person that replaces that. Hmm? Yeah. And then as for the final three, honestly, I was hoping Janelle would carry it out just so she can make top two, and April, Maggie, Yvette, and Bo, they're just completely nervous about wait a minute, what are we going to do if Howie or Janelle make it to the final two? I mean, like, if we do, we're going to have a tough time. Hey, chill out. Just think about the numbers situation, okay? If one member of the Sovereign Six was against one member of the Friendship, all the Friendship has to do is remember that 4 other members of the Friendship are on the jury. Just, what's the deal? Why are you concerned? One of you is going to win anyway. Just, oh my god. I knew that the moment Howie left, I go, okay, Janelle can make top 2, but she's not going to win this. She can make it 4-3, but just, jeez. Another reason I found it hard to watch, because there's no need to be concerned. And Janelle going, I was disappointed, because ironically I found myself rooting for her, and I find that kind of shocking. Because, like, I don't really hate any person in here as a person, but at the same time, what they were doing in the game and how they kept changing in my mind kind of killed me. The final two, yeah, I think I would have voted for Maggie. Just because, well, she did seem to be the person who kind of took control of the group and started that up. And she did act smart in throwing certain things. But as I think I mentioned, I'm not really that big of a fan of her all this season. So I know that was a lot of details, but my thoughts on the season are like what the season is, a mess. So let's see what All Stars brings me.